All right, today we're jumping headfirst into a really fascinating one. We're looking at a single stock ASST that's been on an absolute roller coaster. You know, it's a perfect case study in volatility, conflicting signals, and a company that's really at a pivotal moment. So let's not waste any time, let's get right to the data.
Wow, right off the bat, a drop of over 10% in a single day. A number that sharp, it just jumps off the page, right? It grabs your attention and it forces you to ask a really important question.
So what's the deal here? Is this just a one-off bad day, a little pullback after a big run, or is this the first sign of a much bigger, more serious downward trend? That's what we're here to figure out. We're going to decode the story that the charts and the numbers are trying to tell us.
Okay, so let's set the stage. To really get a handle on where a stock might be heading, you first have to know exactly where it's standing right now.
So, as of this analysis, the stock closed at $1.47. But the price itself isn't the whole story. The key word here is volatility. It's been swinging like crazy after a pretty big rally, and that's created this intense battleground between the buyers and the sellers.
And this is where we get to the good stuff, the heart of the matter. We're diving into the technical indicators. And this is where it gets really interesting, because the data isn't just pointing in one clear direction. It's kind of giving us a puzzle with a lot of mixed messages.
And you see this all the time with stocks that are in this kind of position. You've got these powerful forces pulling in opposite directions. The data is just reflecting that tug of war, and our job is to try and figure out which side has the upper hand.
So, you've got some green shoots, some glimmers of hope. Certain short-term indicators are actually suggesting that maybe, just maybe, the downward push is running out of steam. It looks like buyers might be tiptoeing back in. But of course, it's never that simple. Because when you zoom out, when you look at the bigger picture, the prevailing winds are still blowing in a pretty negative direction. Those longer-term signals are flashing some serious warning signs that kind of overpower that little bit of short-term optimism. And this slide just lays out that conflict perfectly. It's a tale of two very different stories. On the left, you've got the bullish signs. The MACD suggests upward momentum is building. And look at that on-balance volume. It's huge. That tells us a ton of money is flowing through the stock. But then you look to the right, and the bears are making a very strong case. The Arun oscillator is deeply negative, which says the downtrend is still in charge, and the price just can't seem to get above some really key moving averages.
Let's talk about those moving averages for a second. They're so fundamental. They basically just smooth everything out and show you the underlying trend. Now, ASST is trading at 147, but its 20-day average is $1.50. It's not a huge difference, I know, but technically speaking, being below that line confirms that the immediate downtrend is very much still in play. Okay, let's switch gears and look at another massive piece of this puzzle, volume. Because the number of shares being traded, well, that tells its own incredibly dramatic story. This number here is called relative volume. It's just a simple way to see how today's trading volume stacks up against the average. And for ASST, it was more than 5 times the normal level. Think about that. Over 5 times the usual activity. This isn't just random background noise. A spike this huge is a massive flare in the sky, signaling that something really significant is happening. It's a major decision point for the stock.
And this table just illustrates that perfectly. You can see the trading volume for the past 5 days. Just look at October 24th, about 247 million shares. Now, look at October 27th. See that massive spike?
This chart makes it even more obvious. The volume didn't just go up a little bit, it absolutely exploded to over 1 billion shares traded in a single day before dropping right back down to where it was before. This is that major event the data was screaming about. And that leads us to the billion-dollar question, doesn't it? High volume can mean 2 totally different things. Is it what they call capitulation, where all the sellers are just panicking and rushing for the exits? Or is it accumulation, where smart money is coming in, seeing an opportunity and building a new floor of support? So you take all of this conflicting evidence, the bullish momentum, the bearish trend, that insane volume spike, and you ask, where on earth could this stock go from here? Well, the analysis breaks it down into 3 possible futures. At the end of the day, it boils down to 3 main scenarios. You've got the bull case, where the stock bounces back. You've got the bear case, where it breaks down even further. And then there's a neutral case, where it just keeps chopping around sideways. Let's dig into the 2 extremes. So what would it take for the bulls to actually win this fight? Well, a few things have to happen. First, the price needs to punch through that key resistance level at $1.62.
Those short-term momentum signals we saw, they need to keep getting stronger. And importantly, that strong money flow and high volume need to stick around, proving that buyers are still in control of the game. And what about the bears? They're watching that support level at $1.28 like a hawk. If the price falls through that floor, that's a huge red flag. A move like that would probably come with other indicators, like the RSI falling and confirming that, yep, the sellers have completely taken over.
So, after weighing all the evidence, the good, the bad, and the downright confusing, what's the final verdict from the source report? Where do they land?
And here it is, straight from the analysis itself. The key phrases to grab onto are volatile consolidation, which basically means it's moving sideways in a really unpredictable way, and bearish leanings. So even with all the mixed signals, the overall weight of the evidence is tilting just a little bit negative.
Okay, so what does that mean for you in practical terms? It means this is not a stock with a nice, clean trend you can just ride. The report basically concludes this is a situation for people who are comfortable trading the bounces or for people who are happy to just sit on the sidelines and wait for this stock to make a big, decisive move up or down before they jump in.
And that really leaves us with the big question, right? The story of ASST is a perfect example of the challenge every trader faces. When the data is telling you two completely different stories at the same time, the real skill isn't just reading the charts, it's knowing how to weigh all that evidence and decide which story you're going to believe.